Truth or distraction? Trump's former envoy blasts Iran nuclear leak as completely preposterous. When intelligence becomes politics, who pays the price? Behind the conflict, truth, trust, and the nuclear gamble shaping our world is the world. Reels from a leaked U.S. intelligence report warning that Iran could be months away from developing a nuclear weapon. A dramatic counter-narrative has emerged. Former Trump-era Iran envoy Brian Hook has dismissed the leak as completely preposterous, suggesting not only that Iran's program is being exaggerated, but that politicized leaks could be sabotaging serious diplomacy. Appearing in a tense interview, Hook criticized the media's portrayal of the threat and questioned the motives behind the leaked assessment. In a moment where the stakes involve nuclear proliferation, Middle East stability, and global trust in Western intelligence, this controversy cuts deeper than headlines. This report breaks down the new political war over the Iran file, one that pits diplomats against analysts and skepticism against national security doctrine. More than ever, the credibility of global power is being tested not on the battlefield, but in how it handles the truth. Diplomatic standoff, competing narratives, colliding strategies. Brian Hook's pushback is more than partisan noise. It reveals an internal struggle in U.S. foreign policy circles about how to engage Iran post-JCPOA. Hook, who played a central role in the Trump administration's maximum pressure campaign, argues that Iran is far from ready to build a bomb and that the Biden administration has allowed confusion and leaks to dominate strategic messaging. His core argument, that public panic over Iran's nuclear timeline, plays into Tehran's hands by making the West look divided and reactive. At the same time, the leak itself, allegedly from inside U.S. intelligence, has thrown negotiations into chaos. If Iran truly is just months away from a nuclear weapon, as suggested by the leak, it would dramatically accelerate military planning by Israel and challenge European allies who are still seeking diplomatic solutions. Hook's criticism, then, could be an attempt to realign the public and policymaker focus back toward containment rather than confrontation. Yet his remarks also risk undermining already shaky public confidence in U.S. intelligence assessments. The Iraq WMD fiasco casts a long shadow over any leaked evidence, and critics warn that dismissing warnings without transparency could prove catastrophic if Iran is, in fact, nearing breakout capability. The result? A volatile mix of doubt, urgency, and distrust both domestically and globally. Economic fallout. While prices surge amid sanctions and global uncertainty as the political firestorm rages, markets are watching for signals. While prices remain elevated, driven by concerns about Iran-Israel confrontation and uncertainty over the Strait of Hormuz, a nuclear-armed Iran, or even the perception of one, adds a layer of long-term risk that could impact global shipping, regional investment, and military posturing for years. Hook's comments may attempt to cool fears and stabilize diplomacy, but they also complicate enforcement of international sanctions. If Iran is not imminently nuclear, what justification remains for ramped-up economic pressure? And if Western unity breaks over disagreements about the threat level, enforcement of restrictions on Iranian banking, oil exports, and arms deals could begin to unravel. Meanwhile, Iran continues to pivot economically toward China and Russia. These countries benefit from a distracted West and are eager to deepen their energy and defense ties with Tehran. By questioning the urgency of the nuclear threat, Hook may unintentionally strengthen Iran's hand in global markets where perception often matters as much as reality. Past lessons, present tensions, the power of strategic memory. Brian Hook's rebuttal brings historical echoes of other intelligence controversies, from the Vietnam War's Pentagon Papers to the weapons of mass destruction myth that led to the Iraq invasion. The credibility of leaked intelligence has repeatedly shaped global conflict and foreign policy. This moment fits that pattern. A contested leak, an explosive geopolitical subject, and a deep divide between public narrative and internal policy debate. For Trump-era officials like Hook, the nuclear timeline leak may represent an attempt to rewrite the narrative of past Iran strategy failures. Critics argue that the maximum pressure campaign failed to prevent Iranian enrichment and may have accelerated it. Defenders claim it exposed Iran's intentions and left the Biden administration with tools it has failed to use. Either way, the clash underscores a deeper challenge: the lack of consensus in the U.S. about how to handle Iran's nuclear trajectory. Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the Gulf states are unlikely to be swayed by Hook's remarks. Their policy is shaped not by media narratives, but by national survival doctrines. Israeli officials continue to signal that military options are active. The region is bracing not just for a debate, but for possible action. Hook's words may resonate in Washington, but in the Middle East, it's preparation, not punditry, that's dominating the day. Humanitarian fallout. A war of words with real-world consequences. Policymakers debate intelligence and headlines swirl. Millions of lives hang in the balance. In Iran, sanctions have left the economy fractured and the healthcare system strained. The threat of war, especially a nuclear one, tightens the noose around a society already under authoritarian pressure and economic duress. Many Iranians are weary of both their government's provocations and Western punishments that hit civilians hardest. In Israel and neighboring countries, citizens live under the specter of conflict. Public shelters are being prepared, emergency services are on high alert, and children are growing up under the anxiety of missile sirens and military mobilization. Proxy conflicts in Yemen, Syria, and Lebanon, all of which could flare if a direct Iran-Israel conflict begins, further endanger vulnerable populations caught in ideological crossfire. What's lost in the debate over how close is Iran to the bomb is who will suffer if miscalculation wins over diplomacy. Hook's comments may push for a reset in strategy, but unless paired with clear action and unity from the international community, they risk becoming just another voice in a loud, dangerous vacuum. From confusion to crisis. The geopolitical cost of mixed signals. Brian Hook's fiery dismissal of the nuclear intelligence leak as completely preposterous reflects a growing dissonance in U.S. foreign policy toward Iran. While he seeks to reclaim strategic clarity, his comments also highlight the fractured nature of Western decision-making, one that adversaries are keen to exploit. The nuclear question has never been just about uranium or enrichment. It's about credibility, unity, and foresight. In the end, the battle between leaks and rebuttals may not matter as much as what comes next. Diplomats must find common ground, intelligence must be trustworthy, and the public, increasingly skeptical, deserves leadership that speaks plainly, acts decisively, and remembers that beneath every geopolitical gameboard are real people waiting for peace, fearing war. Stay tuned, watch the full documentary right after the summary on this channel.
So how did this ceasefire deal between Iran and Israel actually get negotiated? We know President Trump was directly involved talking with Bibi Netanyahu, while Vance, Rubio, and my next guest talked with the Iranians. Here was what happened behind the scenes is Steve Witkoff, assistant to the president and special presidential envoy for peace missions. Steve, you have a lot on your plate, but you were tapped to help with this. How did we go from Israel bombing Iran and sending our B-2s with those bunker busters to brokering this ceasefire just days later? Take us inside these talks.
You know, Laura, I listened to your introduction, and you've got it right. So many people had it wrong about the president. He had an objective. He wouldn't have entered the war, entered this 12-day, as he calls it, war without that objective. The objective was to eliminate enrichment in Iran and weaponization capability on the part of Iran, and he achieved his objective, and he achieved it after 12 days. And so it was never going to be a forever war. It was never going to be a war just for war's sake. It was a war to achieve an objective that I think most Americans should be very, very satisfied with. I can tell you that I was in those discussions. I watched our commander-in-chief. He's got this uncanny ability to understand exactly when to push the button and when to pull out. He achieved his objective, and that was the end of it.
From the Iranian side of this, Steve, if you can share with us some of their concerns and some of their promises, given what we've seen and some of the reports with this leaked intelligence early assessment of what we know right now. What did Iran actually pledge?
Well, Iran throughout, since this conflict began, we've been talking to them about having some sort of peaceful settlement. And Iran's one caveat has always been that Israel had to stop its campaign. And once Israel fulfilled its objective, which they did, and once the United States fulfilled its objective, which it did, the total destruction of the enrichment capacity of the Iranian state, then the president was able to go to both parties and get a ceasefire done. And by the way, the proof is in the pudding. No one's shooting at each other. It's over.
Steve, this leaked intel assessment, it's an early look at what was actually accomplished on the ground, and I underline early, but it was leaked. Somebody decided to leak this from the DIA, and it's being used in the media, and it's all over today, that, Trump said it was obliterated, but it's not obliterated. It's set back months, but it's not over from Iran's nuclear program's perspective. Your reaction to that, and I assume you know what we're talking about with this leaked intel report.
Well, it goes without saying that leaking that type of information, whatever side it comes out on, is outrageous. It's treasonous. So it ought to be investigated, and whoever did it, whoever's responsible for it, should be held accountable. It could hurt lives in the future. Leaking is a completely unacceptable thing. But let me give you, because I've read all the damage assessment reports from not just our government, but from other governments. And I'm not going to get into anything that's top secret, but let me tell you for sure what happened here. There are three distinct facilities in Iran that we were concerned with. Isfahan, which is a conversion facility. You cannot weaponize unless you have what's called the conversion process at the beginning of enrichment, and then a conversion process to metallicize the material at the end of enrichment. That conversion facility, which as far as we know is the only facility in Iran that can do this, was completely destroyed at Isfahan. It's above ground. It was hit with a 30,000-pound bunker buster, and it could not survive that hit. So they have no conversion opportunity, and that means they cannot weaponize, even if they've enriched to 90%. Then there are two other nuclear reactors in Natanz, one above ground and one below ground. The below ground one we know we eviscerated, and the above ground one, which had been hit by the Israelis and had been substantially damaged, we put another bomb on top of it just to make sure that it was eviscerated, and we know for a fact it was. Fordo is the last enrichment reactor that was operating there, and we put 12 bunker buster bombs on Fordo. There's no doubt that it breached the canopy. There's no doubt that it was well within reach of the depth that these bunker buster bombs go to, and there's no doubt that it was obliterated. So the reporting out there that in some ways suggests that we did not achieve the objective is just completely preposterous.
So your conclusion tonight, seeing what you've seen, is that Iran could not resume its nuclear enrichment program within a matter of months.
It's not even conceivable. The destroying of the conversion facility, which not a lot of people are aware of, that stops the enrichment process in the beginning. And it's needed to finish the enrichment process. Once you get to 90%, you now must metallicize the material, shape it into a round metallic ball. That round metallic ball goes into the bomb. Without conversion, you can't begin enrichment, and you can't end enrichment in a successful weaponization. That was taken out. Then on top of that, the nuclear reactors, again, as I said, 2 at Natanz, 1 in Fordo, all 3 of those had if not all of the centrifuges damaged or destroyed in a way that it will be almost impossible for them to resurrect that program for, in my view, and in many other experts' views who have seen the raw data, it will take a period of years.
Senator Mark Kelly joined a chorus of Democrat senators who expressed deep concern about what may not have gone right with this. Watch.
Because of these, unconstitutional actions, we don't know where the uranium is. We don't know if we destroy these sites. And we don't know if the Iranians are going to race to the development of a nuclear weapon, and we wind up with a situation that's similar to what we're dealing with North Korea. Nobody wants that. I think the best way to deal with it now is if we can get back to the negotiating table. Talk about this. There was no plan here. There was no goals.
Take it away, Steve.
I listened to these things. Of course there was a plan here. There was an objective. The objective was eradicate nuclear enrichment capability, which we did. And even if there was nuclear material that was hidden, it was then to eradicate the conversion building, the conversion process that existed at Esfahan, which we did, which now rendered it absolutely impossible to weaponize.
Well, he doesn't care about knowing
no
this,
matter
or what?
what.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they either don't care about the details. I presume he's a very smart individual. He would be able to comprehend those details, but they're not interested in the truth. They're interested in a political smear of this administration without any sense of, of magnanimity or common sense. And I got to say, Americans are watching this tonight, and they just throw their hands up. They don't know. They don't even have a response to that. But I've got to ask you one question, because what comes next, Steve, to negotiate a deal with Iran, as the ceasefire we hope holds, what would that look like, given what you've concluded about this uranium enrichment and the overall program? Obviously, we have to get inspectors in there. How would that be different from previous efforts to hold Iran accountable through inspections?
Well, first of all, the IEA is involved. By the way, the IEA, Rafael Grossi, I've talked to each and every day multiple times. He agrees with the assessments that I'm giving you tonight, Laura. So there's plenty of backup for the administration's opinion here. With regard to the Iranians, the president has said unequivocally that he wants to see, and he's hopeful for, a comprehensive peace agreement that goes beyond even the ceasefire. We're already talking to each other, not just directly, but also through interlocutors. I think that the conversations are promising. We're hopeful that we can have a long-term peace agreement that resurrects Iran, that brings it into the League of Nations, that creates long-term prosperity for Iran, and most importantly, allows for the GCC to grow economically. Eliminating this risk was crucial to the economic future and prosperity of the entire Gulf region. And we've achieved that. So I think now it's time for us to sit down with the Iranians and get to a comprehensive peace agreement. And I'm very confident that we're going to achieve that.
Well, that's exciting. Steve, I have about 15 seconds. Will you allow any uranium enrichment in this deal?
No.
Oh, that's 15 seconds.
Need it, Laura. Right. They don't need it. What they need, what they need is a civil non-enrichment program, just like Abu Dhabi has. They're running a reactor like that called Boucher, where they don't have enrichment and they're getting fuel from the outside. And we're going to work with them on this. But what they don't need is enrichment.
Steve, thank you very much for these details, your perspective, and for trying to set the record straight. We really appreciate it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.